Hi, I'm Steve Winters, President of KristalBond USA, and thank you for watching this training video, which I hope will help you to make perfect KristalBond coatings. KristalBond is a modern and unique window coating using two modern technologies of sol gel and nanotechnology to deliver very clear, very efficient coatings to existing glass. It's a much more developed and advanced product than traditional window films, and I'm sure once you get into using and applying this product you'll see the benefits. As can be seen on this window here, it produces a very clear, very hard and durable finish that to the naked eye is really not noticeable, but it blocks out around 54% of the heat that comes through the glass and over 99% of the UV. So again, thank you for watching this training video, and I hope it helps to make KristalBond a success for you. Okay, this is the first part of the process of making a KristalBond coating. We're going to use just clean water and a spray bottle, a razor scraper and a plastic sheet. All of this equipment comes with the kits that we supply. Okay, what we do first of all if we're in someone's home or someone's business is to make sure we protect the floor. Again, in the kits that we supply, we give you a roll of plastic sheeting which can be stuck to either the bottom of the windowsill, or in this case, because it's our training area, we're just going to stick it straight to the floor. Okay, so we then cut it to size. And the sheet pulls out. This makes sure that if any liquids, water or whatever drops onto the floor, it's not going to end up marking the carpet or the flooring, and just make sure we do a nice neat job. Okay, that's fine. And then we cover it over with a drop cloth just to soak up any liquids that might spill on the floor from the coating process. Okay, the first part of the preparation work, and when you do a KristalBond coating, probably 70% of the time is actually spent preparing the glass. It's like a lot of things in home improvement, painting, something like that. Preparation is the key. If you get the preparation work right, then the coating normally goes very smoothly. So we sprayed the glass here just with clean water, nothing special. And then we scrape the whole of the glass surface, making sure we go carefully into the edges. And what this does is, if there's any little bits of grease or dirt that's stuck on the glass surface, maybe the house has been painted and there's a few spots of paint that's got stuck on the glass, anything like that, the scraper should remove all of those bits of stuck on dirt. And what we do in particular is make sure we scrape right into the edges like William's doing here, because generally speaking most of the dirt, and particularly things like silicone when the glass may have been installed, get into the edges of the glass, and that's where most of the problems with our product not bonding properly is because that area of the glass hasn't been cleaned properly. So it's important that you scrape all the glass surface like William's doing here to make sure that every bit of dirt, every bit of grease, every bit of silicone that might be on the edge of the glass or on the surface of the glass is removed. Okay, after we've scraped the glass, the next stage is to apply a degreaser that we supply with our KristalBond kits, and it comes in a yellow bottle like this. And basically what we do is we give the bottle a good shake to make sure the degreaser is mixed up. And then using an electric Meadowbow sander or a Bosch sander, we just attach a carpet pad to the surface. And we make sure that carpet pad has been sprayed with some clean water. And then we apply about a quarter size dab of the degreaser onto the pad. And then we spray the surface of the glass again. And we apply the degreaser across the surface just to make sure you've got an even amount over most of the glass. And then we work the degreaser into the glass surface, making sure every part of the glass is covered. Like that. Once you've applied the degreaser all over the window, just stand back and have a quick look just to make sure there's no gaps in the degreaser. If there's any gaps, that normally indicates there's some oil or silicone still left on the glass. But this glass looks pretty good. And then, as I said before, always the edges have to be given some special attention. And what we use just a very fine sanding pad, such as this. Is called 3M Superfine. And while the degreaser is still on the glass, we make sure we go around the edges, and that just gives those edges an extra bit of attention, because that's where most of the dirt, most of the grease tends to hang around. Okay, and that's the windows degreased. One thing I would want to add is that it's important that you only use the degreaser that we supply with the KristalBond kits. It's not just a degreaser, it's actually what they call an anti-shine compound, and it gives a very light etching to the glass surface, which enables KristalBond to bond better to the glass surface. Okay, when the degreaser is dried, we use some clean terry cloths or microfiber cloths, and we just buff all that and get all that degreaser off the surface of the glass. We prefer to do it this way than to use some water, because we want to try and keep the edges of the glass dry now, and we want to let those seals around the edges of the glass get very dry before we do the coating. So the best way is just to buff that degreaser off. You can see it's coming off quite nicely. It leaves the glass quite shiny and clean. Okay, after we finished the degreasing process and the glass is pretty clean, we will then go and tape the seals. And in the KristalBond kit, we supply two tape sizes. There's a thicker tape and a thinner tape. Again, it's important that you only use the tapes that we supply. These are designed to make sure our liquid doesn't soak through, and it protects the seals around the edge of the glass. So I only use the Nitto tapes, the ones that we supply in the kit. Okay, we tape around the edges of the glass and we use the yellow tape that I just showed you, and we tape over just slightly over the edge of the glass, like this. It's about a fraction of an inch, just to make sure that our product doesn't get into any seals or dirt that might still be left in the edges of the glass. The taping process is actually one of the most important stages of the coating process, and once you've done a fair amount of taping, you get quite efficient at it. Okay, so I don't know if you want to come in and have a closer look at that, but you'll see there's a slight piece of tape onto the surface of the glass all along the edge of that window sill. Okay, when you've done the initial taping, the next stage is just to cover over the rest of this window sill with the thicker yellow tape that we supply. And the main purpose for this is, as you can see, these window frames are white, and if we get any liquid onto these window frames and we don't wipe it off, it's going to stain those. So we just want to make sure we protect the whole of the window frame, so that when we come to do the coating, we haven't got to worry about if we coat over the edges of the window frame. So we just apply this thicker yellow tape like this all the way around. And up the top. And that's the taping done. Okay, the final part of the cleaning stage, and this needs to be done just before we do the actual KristalBond coating, is to apply some rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol to the surface of the glass. This just makes sure that any small bits of dust, anything that's finally left on the glass, is cleaned off. We use the alcohol in a squeegee bottle and a lint-free cloth. Okay, using the lint-free cloth, tear off a couple of pieces there, and then fold it into 4 like that. And then we put quite a good amount of this isopropyl alcohol, and we make sure we rub the whole surface of the glass. Now, one thing I want to point out at this stage, all the work that you've seen up until this stage can be done, if needs be, the day before, or at least some time before you coat the windows. And particularly on bigger jobs, when you're doing, say, a large project, it's probably a good idea to come in and clean all the glass up until this stage, maybe the day before or in advance. But you must always do the alcohol rub down immediately before you do any KristalBond coating. And the reason for that is just to make sure that you get any small traces of dust or dirt that might have got stuck to the glass since you cleaned it off. In fact, I just saw a little bit of dust at the bottom there that's obviously got attracted to the to the glass since we cleaned it. And then just make sure once more that you go all around the edges of that glass panel to get the last bit of dirt off. And then that window's now fully prepped and ready to coat. Okay, now we're going to come to actually doing the KristalBond coating. And in this stage we're going to use the actual liquids. There's 2 liquids. There's what we call liquid A and liquid B, and we mix those in a certain ratio, and I'll show you that in a moment. We mix them into a mixing bottle, and they come in 3 sizes depending on how much liquid you need to use, and then we apply the liquid into a tray, and it's applied on the glass with a sponge. Okay, and depending on the amount of glass that you need to mix up, basically you apply 60% of liquid A, and the bottles always come sealed with this this tape. So using a scale, apply whatever quantity of liquid A that you need, and you'll see this is an amber colour. This is actually a silica, which is the same compound that glass is made from. So I've put 50 grams of liquid A in that bottle, and this silica has been modified using a technology called Sol Gel. Basically it enables the liquid to dry under normal room temperature rather than going through a kiln like a normal glass would be. And then we apply 40% mixture of liquid B, and this is like a blue-green colour. You'll see this now. So that's that, and that's the mix done. So we've mixed up around 90 grams for coating these windows. Once you've mixed the liquid, put the cap on firmly and give it a good shake. Give it a shake for about a minute just to make sure the 2 liquids are fully mixed together. Okay, when you do the coating stage, it's always best to put on the rubber gloves that we supply in the kit, just to make sure that basically you keep the working area as clean as possible. And we use a sponge applicator tool like this, which we supply. Just loosen that up so that the sponge can be fitted inside. And we use a coating sponge that come in the kits, and the sponge is inserted inside of the holder like this. Just get it pretty much down to the grip and tighten it up so that the sponge is held firm, and then just give the surface a clean. Just make sure there's no dust on that, and that sponge is ready to use. So the next stage is to take one of these plastic trays out of the pack and get it out. Like that. And insert it into the tray holder. And then give the tray a clean out with some alcohol. Just make sure that there's no dust that's got into the tray before we mix any liquid, such as that. Okay, cut. Okay, we apply the liquid at a certain ratio to make sure we get the right thickness and the right amount of coating on each piece of glass. And what we do is we measure the glass. So this one is 28 inches by 61 inches. Okay, so that piece of glass was 28 inches by 61 inches. And to work out how much liquid we're going to use, we take 28 by 61, and that gives us 1708 square inches. And we divide that by 144, and that gives us 11.86 square feet. But we're going to round that up to 12 square feet. 12 square feet of glass. That's going to take 24 grams of our liquid A and liquid B mix that we've just made. because we use 2 grams per square foot. So we're going to use 24 grams of liquid to coat that window. You can tell it's a very small amount of liquid. Once the liquid is dried on the glass, it's only 7 microns thick, which is about half the thickness of a human hair. So it's very thin indeed. Okay, and the final thing we need to just work out is how many blocks we're going to do this window in. So normally the way we work that out is just to work out how many sponge lengths. So this works out just over 4. So we're going to do this window in 4 blocks. So as I mentioned earlier, we've got 24 grams for the whole window, and we're going to do it in 4 blocks, which gives us 6 grams per block. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to measure out the 6 grams to do the first block, and using the mixed liquid that we made earlier, we just fill the tray like so with 6 grams, which is there, and then we put the tray into the wooden tray holder. And just make sure it's nice and level in there. And then taking the sponge, just give it a nice shake in there, and you can see that it's picked up that liquid on the surface of the sponge. And then applying the liquid on the glass, you start in the middle and you make dabs across the glass like so, which are about 1 inch to half an inch apart, starting in the middle, working to the edges, so that you've got a spread of the liquid over the glass. And then you work the liquid all over that area of the glass, making sure you push it into the edges, and then you drag the liquid down the glass just to make sure that there's no runs or any patches of thick liquid in any area. And then you do a very soft final smoothing stroke that goes either from left to right or right to left, and just at the edges, just smooth off the edges. Now the good thing about KristalBond is because it's a nano liquid, actually what happens is it will start to level itself on the glass, and it will start to clarify and it will start to clear. But it's a good thing at this stage just to have another look at the area that you've coated, just to make sure that you're happy that you've got a nice even coating. You can go back and rework it for 2 or 3 minutes while it's still drying itself off. If the glass is hotter, on an outside surface and the sun's on it, then you've got to work a bit quicker because it will dry quicker. So that's the first block of that glass done. Okay, and then to do the second block, you start just below where you finished with your first block. The same process, you mix in, and then you do a zigzag movement from the top block to the bottom block, or the block below, just to make sure you've mixed it in. And then you do what we call a window wiper motion, which basically drags that liquid down the glass. And then you do that final very smooth right to left or left to right stroke that I showed you on the earlier block, like that, and just smooth down the edges. You can probably see the top section is already clearing up quite nicely. The second section will start to clear within about 2 or 3 minutes. And then we do the third and the fourth block in the same way until the whole of the glass surface is coated. So starting at the middle, we dab it to the edges. And because there's quite a big gap here, I will put another dab. Just, that's it. Okay, that's fine. And then we mix it in. Just to mix it all in with the surface that we've just applied to. Go around the edges. And when we do the edges, we try and push it into the edges like this to get a good amount of liquid into the edges. And then we're all the way across that glass. And then we're going to mix it in with the block above. Just a little zigzag motion like this. Just to make sure it's mixed in with the block above. And then we're going to do that window wiper motion to drag the liquid down. Make sure you get all the liquid dragged down to the bottom of the glass. That's fine. And then starting at the block above, around about here, we're going to do a smooth final finish, left to right or right to left, depending on how you're. Yeah. Now, one thing that you need to be careful of to get a nice even finish at the end is to just go right into the edges, like so. And then just do a final, very soft finishing stroke. So we've got one small block at the bottom to do, and William will do that one. Probably use about 5 on this because you've not got such a big block left. So we're going to finish off this window, starting in the middle, working our way out. We do the window wiper to drag the liquid down to the bottom. That's it. And then at the end we do that very fine finishing stroke, very soft, all the way across, very soft. The bottom as well. And then holding the sponge at a very slight angle, you do a very light finishing stroke up the edge just to get that little bit of residue that might be left at the edges. Okay, and that window's done. Okay, after we've finished the coating and the coating has been allowed to dry, normally it takes about an hour until it's touch dry. We then remove the tapes. Because the coating is still not fully cured, it takes up to a week. It's best that you remove the tapes very carefully, avoiding getting any tape onto the surface of the glass. So just remove all the tape around the edges, like so. And that glass is finished. So we just clear up the plastic sheet and the drop sheet from below the glass surface. Hopefully there shouldn't be too much mess because we've protected everything, but if there is, we'll just hoover around and make sure the whole of the area is left nice and clean for the customer. And then that's that window finished. Okay, when we come to remove a KristalBond coating, we use this, which is the remover liquid. We use some old sponges. We use a scraper. If the existing taping that's on the window has got damaged or is no longer good, we will retape the windows with the yellow tape that we supply in the kits. We also use some isopropyl alcohol to remove the remover liquid. We wash the window with some clean water, and we use some lint-free cloth to wipe the window down. Okay, the quickest way to remove a coating if it's defective, for example, we might have just finished this window and a fly's landed on it or someone's put their fingerprint in it. Unfortunately, you can't just touch up a small area of glass when it's been coated by KristalBond. You have to recoat the whole surface to get a nice finish. So basically, the quickest way to take off a coating is, while it's still wet, just apply a load of alcohol to a piece of lint-free cloth, and you can see it comes off on the surface of the cloth. Just basically wipe the whole of the window off. The alcohol basically removes the coating from the window surface. So once you've got most of the liquid off, get a nice clean piece of cloth, some more alcohol, and just continue to do this until all of the KristalBond is off the glass surface. You can see this is a lot quicker than waiting for the coating to dry and having to use a remover liquid, which takes time to soak into the dried KristalBond coating, and then it has to be scraped off, which takes a lot longer than removing it while it's still wet. Okay, that window's been removed of KristalBond. Okay, what we're going to do now is show you how to remove a coating. Hopefully, if you do the coatings perfect each time, you won't have to do this very often. But anyway, we will show you how to remove a KristalBond coating. What you do, using the remover liquid that we supply in the kit, you apply a good amount over the coated surface of the glass, like this. Just make sure you cover all the glass surface with a good amount of the liquid. Always remember to wear the rubber gloves that we supply when using this remover liquid, because depending on how sensitive your skin is, it can irritate it. So we always recommend you use the rubber gloves when you're applying this liquid. Okay, we put a good amount of the liquid over the glass now. Depending on how hot the windows are, the liquid will dry out quickly. If it's a very hot day and the glass surface is very hot, we recommend you cover the glass with a plastic sheet to stop that liquid evaporating too quickly. It takes about 3 or 4 minutes to really work and make the liquid, make the coating soft. So once it's worked, and this one we already coated a little bit earlier to save some time, you will find that the coating should come off quite easily. You see, it comes off in almost like wafers or very thin film. So using the scraper blade like this, make sure you get every bit of the coating off that area. Just working into the edges. If you find that the coating's still a bit hard, you can always go back and reapply the remover liquid again. But this one seems pretty good. I think that's pretty much all the coating that's come off of that one. So I'm going to get Rosa to do the panel next to this one. Rosa? Okay, if the coating has been softened up enough, it should come off quite easily. I think this panel might need a little bit more remover liquid because the coating's still quite hard on the surface. And when the remover liquid is working, you should see some small gaps start to appear in the coating, like here. That indicates that it's sort of softened up and it's coming away from the glass. It makes it a lot easier to scrape. So you can see now the coating has got soft. It should come off quite easily. It's got a cloudy, sort of hazy colour, so you know when the coating has been softened up. So make sure you get the old coating right out of any edges. Actually, KristalBond is really designed not to come off the glass, so removing it is always a bit of a problem. KristalBond is applied on the inside glass surface, so application is a lot easier than working outside in hot, cold or wet conditions.